Paul writes to the church that they're actually fighting with one another about this, just like people are fighting about Halloween today.
Nice.
Which is, by the way, I don't think the church should divide over issues like this. It's so silly. It's so stupid.
Welcome back to the Arroyo podcast. We're back. We're here.
We're glad to be here.
We're glad to be here. Actually, I have a question that I've been wondering this week.
Coming in hot.
What are you going to be for Halloween?
Wow.
Are you going to dress up for Halloween?
You know what? Did I even dress up last year? I think I pulled a Jim Halpert and I just put on a name tag or something. I didn't really.
Really?
Well, we did something
we went
last
out.
year. We went out. Was I wearing anything?
No,
Do you remember?
You may be wearing a 49ers jersey. That's what you.
I think I was. Yeah,
that's
I was
your
just wearing a jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
I
was all dressed up.
Yeah, I don't think I was dressed up either.
Yeah.
But that, that
what
actually
are you
reminds
this year? Do you have plans?
We don't have plans. Well, actually, yes, we do. My daughter's.
Or what are you going to dress?
My
as?
daughter,
You.
like every other little girl,
Wants
she's
to be a
reached the
princess.
Frozen stage.
Elsa.
Yes.
Okay.
So she will be dressing up as Elsa, and I think my wife got us other costumes.
Kristoff?
No, not Kristoff.
He's the king that dies in the shipwreck.
I was going to say, we're her dead
That'd actually
parents.
be kind of cool. You
We're
could be
dead
her
parents.
deceased parents.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that was a bad joke, but
No, it's fine. They're cartoons.
I made that joke when she first told me.
characters.
No, I think I'm Olaf or something.
Oh, okay.
Or
That actually
Sven.
is more fitting for you as Olaf.
I don't. We'll talk about that after off camera. No, but that does bring up a good topic for today that I think we wanted to cover is, and I've been seeing a lot of this online, especially in the Christian community,
definitely
debates around Halloween and whether Christians should celebrate. Is it demonic? Is it not demonic? How much should Christians be involved and not involved? So I think that'd be a good topic of discussion for this podcast. Halloween is just around the corner.
100%.
I'm sure your guys' kids or maybe yourself are looking to celebrate in some way. So let's start there. Let's get right to the root. Or do you want to?
What I would say is this.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're going to get into how Christians should interact with it.
Okay.
But I think before we even get there, we can maybe do a quick, just brief historical overview of Halloween.
Sure.
Which I think is actually kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So I was doing a deep dive into this. I've looked into it a little bit in the past, but I really went deep into it this week, which is why we're doing this pod.
Yeah.
So it does start off with actually some pretty pagan, and I would say pretty dark roots.
Mm-hmm.
So it started out with a lot of people thinking, thousands of years ago, that basically during this time of the year was the time of the year where dead people and the spirits from the dead kind of came back and were more involved and enmeshed with the physical world. And so that's actually where the whole idea of disguising yourself in costumes came from, is that I need to disguise myself so that these dead spirits don't torment me.
Interesting.
That's where that came from. So, and that's kind of how it was mainly celebrated for a pretty long time. And it wasn't necessarily a holiday. It was more of like a kind of a spiritualistic, almost really dark witchcraft kind of thing, where it was, we're just trying to protect ourselves from, these spirits. And, some people celebrated it too. And there was darkness involved with that.
And that reminds me of the Hispanic Dia de los Muertos, where the spirits come back, but it's your family members.
Yes. It's
So
very, very connected, I
Okay.
think. I'm sure there's some historical connection there. It probably, the thing that people celebrate in Mexico probably stemmed from that, I'm sure.
Whatever.
But then what's interesting, as time kind of went on and as different cultures got a little bit more Christian, Christians kind of adopted it, but then Christianized it. So there are certain aspects that we have and celebrate actually in Halloween today that is actually from when Christians kind of Christianized it. So for example, the idea of trick-or-treating, that actually came and kind of stemmed from Christians. What they did was they said, okay, you guys are already celebrating the dead. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this All Saints Day, and we're going to celebrate people that, were strong in their faith or that were killed for their faith. And we're going to celebrate them. And also we're going to remember people that in our lives that were Christians that have died. So they kind of made it more Christian. And so one of the things they did was they allowed people that were poor to go house to house. And basically they were called soul cakes, and they had crosses on them. And this was mainly the Catholic Church kind of during the medieval years, is that the poor would go to the house, they'd get a soul cake, and in exchange for the poor receiving the soul cake, they would pray for somebody in that family that had died, that they would be taken out of purgatory, which we don't believe in because we're not Catholic and purgatory is not in the Bible, but that's a separate podcast to address the difference between Protestants and Catholics. But the idea was we're going to go and get a treat from you, and then in exchange, we're going to pray for you and your family or people that have died. And so that's what actually where we get kind of trick or treating from. And so you have the stage where it's very dark, it's very pagan, and then Christians kind of adopt it. They add some more Christian elements. They're not celebrating the dark, like more demonic stuff. They're trying to Christianize it. And then we get into like, you know, the 1920s and 30s and 40s where it goes, I say it's like it starts out being dark and spiritualized to being Christianized to then being commercialized.
Yeah, like everything else.
Which it's like, hey, you know what? Let's make a business out of this, which is what America has always been good at doing. Let's make a bunch of money off of costumes. Let's make a bunch of, you know, special candies and treats, and let's make it a holiday, and let's make a bunch of money off of it. So I think that's where we're at today when we see Halloween. If we look at it realistically, I think that for a lot of people, especially in America, and I would say for the majority of people, it is purely commercial in that, hey, I'm just wearing a costume. I'm trying to have fun. I'm eating my candy. There are some elements of even the part of the candy that comes from Christians kind of adding some different elements. But I think also, for honest, there is still some pretty dark stuff on Halloween where you see people decorating their, you know, front yards with like dead babies or babies with blood on them or ghosts or like really dark, weird stuff. And there are people that are Satanists that do weird stuff on Halloween. And so there is weird stuff that goes on. And so I kind of think what we need to add to this conversation, which, you know, maybe you have some thoughts or questions you want to bring to me about how Christians interact with it. But before I even have you do that, I'll just say this. I think what needs to be added into this conversation with Halloween is you have a lot of people that are like, it's all bad, it's all demonic, it's all wrong, like it's terrible. And then you have other people that are kind of blind to the fact that there are some dark spiritual things going on. And they're like, oh no, it's fine. It's just, which I think it's actually more complicated than either of those views. I think there is some very real dark things going on. But then I also think there's a lot of really harmless things that are going on at the same time too. So based off of that, how do you think Christians should react? Or what are some follow-up questions you have? What do you think?
I have a ton of follow-up questions. I would say the first things that are coming to my mind is that how I view Halloween, my opinion on this is that I view it as a cultural thing. Yeah. And holidays are mostly cultural stuff. Like July 4th, that's an American thing where we celebrate, you know, American ideals. Labor Day, that's family and barbecues. And like there's stuff associated with these certain days that just as a country, we agree that we do these things. And it's a time to step back from work, step back from other things and just have fun or whatever, right? Yeah. And then there's religious holidays with Christmas and even Thanksgiving, I would say. And Easter, of course. I would say for this Halloween thing, oh gosh, I'm trying to think.
Well, you're kind of thinking about it from more of the commercialization,
the commercialized, I don't see
perspective.
Here's what I was going to say. Here's what I was going to say is I think that these cultural, why I started from the cultural lens is that I think that those cultural things you can pinpoint even in Christmas. It's a demonic thing that people twist because they add, you know, commercialism and gluttony to Christmas, right? Sure. Easter, they add
the Easter bunny,
and gluttonous things that
that has a little bit of Christian history to it too.
It does. No, there's always that Christian thing, but then there's twists, and of course there's overtly evil like goblins and ghosts and witches spells and witches and stuff that is overtly evil and spiritually based. But there's other things. They twist holidays like this. So that's how I'm looking at this. I have the opinion that, you know, as long as you don't participate in those spiritual things, have your kid dress up.
There's a way to do it.
There's a way to do this.
Participate in the darkness.
But on a deeper question that I have for you to start with is, what's your opinion on things that might start of the world and Christians take them and Christianize them, or take them back for Jesus? Maybe I'll use that phrase, because this seems like it started as an evil thing. Christians took the opportunity to actually turn it into a Jesus thing.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's changed.
It's become Americanized.
I guess just in the and churches even today use it as a Jesus thing.
So there's three categories.
Use it as a way to invite the community.
For sure. And we kind of did that.
Serve the community.
We didn't do a Halloween outreach event. We did more of a fall thing where we did a pumpkin patch party.
I was talking even specific. Church we grew up in, or the most popular thing in church now, trunk or treat.
Yeah, we do come to the
Everybody
church, get
come,
candy.
get
I think that's
candy.
totally cool.
Yeah,
So
that's turning the evil into good, right?
I would,
So
I would
what's your idea on
say
that?
there's 3 categories that I've heard a few people use before that I think are really helpful. You could receive it, you could redeem it, or you could reject it. So receive it is I'll take it completely as it is.
Yeah.
I don't need to edit it. There's nothing I need to take out. It's completely great. Redeem is I can take it, I can make some changes, and there are some things I got to take out. There's some things I got to edit out. But then once I do that, I can redeem it and it can be good. And then reject it is this is so bad. There's just no redeeming it. I
Right.
just need to not participate at all, right? So for me personally, I would put Halloween probably in the redeem category.
At least
Where I would say you definitely, and I would just say this very strongly actually, I don't think you can receive Halloween without editing it at least a little bit.
Right.
I think because there are those dark things baked into it from the beginning, and that is still very much alive today in the way that people decorate their homes and the way that people practice and do certain weird, dark spiritual things. So I think to receive it like without any discernment, without any wisdom, without any boundaries, I don't think that that's helpful. I don't think that's the Christian response, but I think there is a way to redeem it and experience it in a way. So I think and it just depends on what your conscience level is and what God is leading you in this. For some people, it might say, "Hey, I'm dressing my kids up. We're going out. We're going trick or treating, and maybe because my kid is young, when there's a house with weird stuff, we're just gonna
skip it.
We're gonna skip it. And we're not gonna go to that house. We'll just go to the normal house, or we're gonna go to a nice." Upscale neighborhood where we know it's not as weird, or whatever. Or maybe it's, you're not even comfortable with that. You're not comfortable, doing it during a rush hour when there's a bunch of kids. So maybe you do it earlier. Or maybe it's, hey, we don't even want to go out. We'll do a party and we'll
With
have
your friends.
with our friends and we'll just wear some costumes and have a good time and let the kids build memories, right? Because the last thing, and I'm getting ahead of myself here. But when you outright completely reject things like this, what this happens if now I'm talking to kind of parents, because this is really what it's kind of pointed to, is you can have your kids kind of resent you and resent the church because they think, oh, well, my family's so legalistic. They're so out of touch with what's going on in the world. I don't, this isn't cool. This doesn't, resonate with me. And it can become this thing where they want to rebel against you because they feel like you're so... it's not that you're not, because Jesus says to be in the world, but not of the world. So sometimes I think when you're outright rejecting it, you're choosing to remove yourself completely from the world rather than being in the world while not being of it.
Well, that's why I bring up the culture thing because Jesus participated in his cultural activities and parties and dates his whole life.
Yes,
and I'm not trying to relate, Shabbat to Halloween.
Sure, but
I'm
we
saying,
can I bring this up in Romans 14 because this is actually very, very applicable. So I want to read 2 verses here. One is on the reject side, right? On things that you need to reject in Halloween in order to redeem it. Ephesians 5:11, right? Paul says, "Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them." And so there are some dark things in Halloween that should be rejected and should not be accepted. Like you probably shouldn't dress your kid up as a vampire or maybe some weird, dark figure or witch or whatever. That's probably not a good idea. I wouldn't participate in that type of behavior or celebrate that type of behavior.
Yeah.
But then also Romans 14, this is very interesting. And I want to give a little context here before I read these verses. It's Romans 14 verses 1-6 and then verse 13. Paul's writing to the church in Rome and they were actually, people within the church were fighting with one another. They were fighting with one another because there were some people that were okay with eating meat from animals that had been sacrificed to false gods. So that's dark.
Yeah.
That's demonic.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's pretty fair to say when you look at other parts of Scripture that these false idols are actually demons.
Right.
So there are some people in the church that are saying, no, we can eat the meat that somebody, they sacrificed an animal to the false idol, but then they left the meat there. I can take it and eat it. There were some people that did that and they saw no problem with it. And there are other Christians in the church that were like, whoa, that animal was sacrificed to an idol. That's demonic. I'm not going to touch that meat. I'm not going to eat it. And Paul writes to the church that they're actually fighting with one another about this, just like people are fighting about Halloween today.
Nice.
Which is, by the way, I don't think the church should divide over issues like this. It's so silly. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
This is, I think, a disputable matter in so many ways. again, I think it's clear cut that we need to reject the obvious darkness and demonic stuff that is associated with it. But when it comes to interacting with Halloween with wisdom, I think this is a disputable matter, which is what Paul talks about here. So I'm just read these verses, Romans 14, verses 1-6. And then verse 13, he says, accept the one whose faith is weak without quarreling over what? Disputable matters. One person's faith allows them to eat anything, but another whose faith is weak eats only vegetables. The one who eats everything must not treat with contempt the one who does not, and the one who does not eat everything must not judge the one who does, for God has accepted them. Who are you to judge someone else's servant? To their own master, servants stand or fall, and they will stand, for the Lord is able to make them stand. One person considers one day more sacred than another, another considers every day alike. Each of them should be fully convinced in their own mind. Whoever regards one day as special does so to the Lord. Whoever eats meat does so to the Lord, for they give thanks to God. Whoever abstains does so to the Lord and gives thanks to God. And then verse 13, he says, therefore, let us stop passing judgment on one another. Instead, make up your mind not to put any stumbling block or obstacle in the way of a brother or sister.
Yep.
And so I think, I would equate what was going on in that church to what is happening in Halloween today. I think it is a disputable matter. I think it is a matter of the conscience. Again, there are things that are not a matter of the conscience. There are things in Halloween that every Christian should reject. Yep. But when it comes to, hey, is there a way for me to participate in this holiday wisely by either skipping certain houses or having a party at your church or having a party at your home or whatever it is, right? Like, I think that's between a person and their family and their kids and God. And I think what's really unhelpful in the body in Christ right now is you have some people that do celebrate it and they're telling all the people that don't want to celebrate it, right, you're legalistic, you're rigid, you're stupid, you're this or that. Which I can tend to do that sometimes. I kind of almost said that earlier in this podcast. But I do share that concern for people that reject it, because I think with kids, there is a danger in fully rejecting everything all the time, because it can build up a resentment in kids' hearts. I've just been around churches long enough to see it. It's just the truth. So you have to be careful. But at the end of the day, it's your own conscience. Yeah. And if your conscience says, I want to reject this completely, there is no judgment. I'm not going to call you legalistic. I think it's totally between you and the Lord, and you can do that. But also for those that say, I want to celebrate this in a wise way with my kids, to build memories, to have fun. Maybe it's, hey, I'm even passing out candy to people, and there's a Bible verse on all the candy bars I'm passing out, whatever, right? But like, if you can find a way to celebrate it in a way that it doesn't violate your Christian conscience, then great. And people that reject it, you shouldn't judge them for, oh, you're engaging in demonic activity or you're engaging in celebrating in the darkness. It's like, no, they're just dressing their kids up in costumes and wanting to have a fun time. Like, don't go 0 to 100, right? And so I think this is a disputable matter that we need to give grace to other believers in. And we need to draw the lines really clearly where they need to be drawn. But where there's gray area, we need to give grace.
Yep. And the only I'll play devil's advocate a little bit, or stress a point that I don't think we've stressed, is on the other side, spiritual and demonic stuff is very real, and you should not be messing around with that stuff.
Yes.
So, like when you said, maybe we just won't go to that demonic house, I wouldn't even say maybe, I would say don't go to that demonic house.
Yes, exactly.
Like make an effort to, because this holiday there's a very fine line in this holiday, and it's very easy to get onto the spiritual and demonic side of this holiday, just because it's the nature of the holiday. So you got to be careful. So be careful, for sure.
That's why we're not saying, hey, jump into it and receive it.
Exactly.
We're saying there is a possibility to redeem it.
Right.
But also, if you feel like you need to reject it, you're free to do that as well.
Yeah.
So you're free either way. You have freedom in Christ. For freedom, Christ has set you free.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to this holiday that is Halloween, you can have the freedom to redeem it if you interact with it in a wise way, but you can also reject it too. Either way is fine. I personally think that me and my family, we're probably going to redeem it. I know that she has a costume. We're probably going to hang out with some friends and do a little party at their house or whatever. We're probably going to walk around a neighborhood. But also there's certain things we're going to guard our kids from. And
what's your thoughts on like Halloween movies, right? Halloween content.
Yeah.
That might be, trying to think of a...
Well, I mean,
there's Halloween Town. That's a very famous movie. That's very we'll call it kid friendly, because it's not like
Is that
The
one of those old
Conjuring.
Disney movies?
Yeah, it's an old Disney movie.
I remember that. It has
It's
like witches and stuff.
Yeah,
in
it has
and-
witches, but it's not like The Conjuring, like horror demonic movie.
Sure.
You know what I mean? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know if I could speak to that movie specifically because I just don't remember what
I
it is.
I
It's
meant
been
a
like
Halloween
15
theme
But yeah.
with witches and all that. Not even like, again, it's not scary. It's
what I would say is
they're making
this.
fun of it.
I would say is this: you don't want to consume or watch something that's celebrating darkness.
Mhm.
So if the darkness is being celebrated and it's in what is you are watching is encouraging you to celebrate in that darkness,
Yeah.
then I would say you probably shouldn't watch it.
I'm gonna call you out. I'm gonna call
No,
you out
hold on. No, I'm ahead of you. So, okay. So, but then like, you got to be careful though, because that doesn't mean, so now you're just going to knock out all like fantasy literature and like all fantasy, like
Harry
movies.
Potter.
Like, well, I was going to go to Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
So like Lord of the Rings and even like the Chronicles of Narnia, which Chronicles of Narnia is written
That's
by
a
C.S.
Christian,
Lewis,
yeah.
an incredible Christian, J.R.R. Tolkien. Lord of the Rings written by a Christian.
Yeah.
And they're writing stories that has like
Demonic,
some
yeah.
wizards.
Yeah.
But they're not celebrating demonic activity. It's about good versus evil.
Right.
And it's this fantasy world where the good is actually celebrated and the evil is actually painted as bad and evil and something to be overcome.
Yeah.
And so I think it's more of like there are certain types of genres of films where the evil is either being celebrated or it's being emphasized to the point where it's like it's too much. It's like the main like a Conjuring movie or like something like Paranormal Activity where it's not only is there darkness and maybe even the darkness isn't even being celebrated. It's more to scare the heck out of somebody.
Right.
But it's like front and center and it's what it's all about. I don't think that's healthy to watch if it's front and center and it's what it's all about or if it's celebrating it. But it's like, I think we need to have stories. C.S. Lewis actually talked about this, how children need stories where there's good versus evil so that they could be prepared as adults to face good and evil.
That's good.
And so they have a framework for what that is. And so it's not like, hey, never expose your child to evil. If you never expose your child to evil, and this is what I've seen with so many like overly sheltered homeschooled kids, is they grow up as adults and they have no sense of wisdom and they have no sense of discernment because their parents have shielded them too much from the world.
Mm-hmm.
In an effort to protect them, they've actually harmed them because their children are actually ignorant and aren't aware of evil. And so I think, you know, as a parent, you want to not like expose your children to darkness to the point where it's being celebrated or it's too much, but you do want them to be aware of it so that they know how to fight against it and be a light in it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Did I get ahead of your question?
No, I was just I know your favorite movie is Harry Potter. So
well,
it
was one of my favorite series.
That.
I would say
because that's an example.
Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia is very clear to me.
Yes,
you can watch it. I think Harry Potter is a gray area. I would say that.
Really?
You know what? A few years ago, I probably would say it's fine.
Yeah.
I still would. I'm leaning towards it's fine because actually, again, it goes back to the intent.
Right.
The author. Do you know what she said? The number one inspiration of Harry was for her was Jesus.
Yeah.
Literally. Sorry. Spoiler alert. The whole literal end of the movie is he sacrifices his life to save everybody.
Yeah.
And then there's a resurrection stone that brings him back to life to save everybody. That's literally the gospel. So like, and again, darkness isn't celebrated in those movies.
Right.
It's actually Voldemort's evil and he needs to be defeated. And the main character is actually, it's about friendship and a good person and somebody that's trying to save the world. And it's about good overcoming evil.
Yeah.
So again, if somebody's a Christian and they're like, I don't want to show my kids that, or I don't want to watch that, that's totally fine. I think that's totally cool. I totally get it. I'm okay with watching Harry.
Putting your foot down on that.
Listen,
it's
a gray area. If somebody says it's wrong, that's totally cool.
Yeah,
I have no problem with that.
In the end, it goes back to the intent.
Stories, why was it written?
Exactly.
It was written by somebody that was trying to display good overcoming evil. It's about friendship.
You can replace, especially with Harry Potter, you can replace that with a knight and them fighting with swords. Yes. But instead it's using the word wizard and the word magic. Yeah. But the underlining story is, and unfortunately, wizards and magic have been associated with evil things in the past. So there's like a gray line culture. But I think that goes back to the whole redeem, reject, or accept. Yeah. I think having a story with quote unquote wizards and magic, but it's a good versus evil story. It's a sacrifice story. Mm-hmm. It's has those, let's call them biblical kind of themes. Mm-hmm. I think it's redeeming that.
Yes.
But again,
But then
If
also,
you feel
and now I'm going to be devil's
uncomfortable-
advocate
Yeah.
on the other
You
side.
feel-
You have the Apostle Paul spreading the gospel, and there's one instance in which a bunch of
Exactly.
people come to faith, and they literally do a book burning where they're all burning their objects that
Right.
were used for sorcery in their
Right.
books about magic and stuff. So I think, again, it's what is it, and is it celebrating it? Is it
Exactly.
participating in the darkness? Or is it a story showing good overcoming evil? I think those are very different things.
Yep.
But again, I think if you
If you don't feel comfortable with that, great.
that's totally
And don't
fine.
make that person
Yeah.
feel bad. And on the other side, don't be legalistic about that. with
Yeah,
that, right?
don't be too legalistic.
Yeah.
But then also don't be ignorant and
Yeah.
participate in things that might open the door to the demonic.
Right.
Because like things like a Ouija board or
Yeah, exactly.
doing stuff like that is so demonic. Or even like, I'm going to be honest with you, like you're playing with your crystals at home. Like
Right.
you're opening the door to like demons. And,
Right.
And then you playing with what's my sign and all this stuff and
Yeah,
practicing new age religion and all this stuff. That is straight up demonic.
It is.
Because now it's not just a fantasy story about
Yeah.
good versus evil. You're actually participating
Yeah.
in practices to connect to some spiritual realm.
It's true.
That's different. And so that is stuff you got to be super, super careful with. And I won't even say be careful with. You just outright reject it.
Yeah.
And be careful in the sense of like just not letting that into your life.
Right.
So, and even like, I'm going to be honest with you. I had, I'm not going to say who it was, but somebody of another religion gave me a religious object the other night.
Mhm.
And it was like a little thing celebrating, I won't even say religion was, one of their Eastern religions. I threw it in the trash.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that in my house.
Right.
And so I think stuff like that is important. Like I remember there was a Buddha statue in the last 2 houses ago that we lived in. The first day we got there,
Really?
I took the Buddha and I threw it in our trash.
Yeah.
Get
False
that out of
gods.
here. I don't
None
want
of
that
them.
here. Get that out of my house.
Yes.
I don't want that demonic energy in here.
Good.
And so, I mean, that stuff is important.
Yeah.
You need to be, I think, careful about what you invite into your home and into your family's house. And make sure you're not opening any doors to the demonic because they will walk through if you open them in.
Exactly.
So be careful. It's better safe than to be sorry.
Take
But
care.
also, we need to be in the world, not of the world. So it requires a lot of wisdom, a lot of discernment, what we're talking about today. And it requires us giving, and this is the key, we need to give grace to one another.
Yeah.
And that's, I feel like our culture and I feel like Christians are so polarized. Like we're polarized about everything, including even Halloween. Like it's really sad.
Yep.
So let's give each other grace. Let's agree on what we should agree on
Mhm.
and be wise.
And the number one thing is Jesus. So that's the only thing we need to agree on.
Yes.
Right?
That's
All
right.
these other B, C, D, E level issues.
Yeah. Let's have
Let's not divide
conversations.
us.
Let's
Yeah.
have conversations.
Yeah.
But let's not
Build each other up.
divide over disputable matters.
Exactly.
Let's rally and center on Christ and then have honest conversations and grow one another through those conversations, but let's not throw in the towel, which is what I see a lot of people doing.
Yeah.
Around not just this issue, but just a lot of disputable issues.
Yeah.
And it's unnecessary.
Agreed.
So-
Well, I think we covered the Halloween topic. I appreciate this conversation. It's kind of
Really good.
it's a different one that I don't hear discussed
I'm
very
looking
much,
forward to you
but
seeing in your Olaf
Yeah,
outfit.
I'm looking forward to that as well.
And I'll
Actually.
probably wear a jersey again.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you for listening.
Like.
We appreciate.
Subscribe, share. In fact, if you know somebody that is going to be celebrating Halloween this year and maybe you think they're not celebrating it in a godly way, go ahead and send this to them.
How come you
No,
end
I'm
every
kidding.
podcast with trying to
I'm just
seed
kidding.
division
I don't know.
between relationships?
No, but I think we're going to be, posting this the week of Halloween.
Yeah.
So it's going to be on a lot of people's minds. Go ahead and share it. I think it could be helpful. And we love you. And if you disagreed with anything we said, go ahead and leave a comment. Let us know. We'd love to
Yeah.
interact with you. If you thought something we said was good, go ahead and leave a comment. We'd love to be encouraged. But we'll see you next time.
Good.
God bless.
God bless.